The hunting fleet of the Velthar had been tracking their quarry for 3 solar cycles. The prey species, humans, they called themselves, had somehow wandered into the Velthar's sacred hunting grounds. This was unprecedented. Unacceptable. Perfect. The Velthar were apex hunters. Their entire civilization was built on the pursuit, capture, and consumption of other species. They had perfected the art of predation across 100 star systems. Humans, with their soft bodies and fragile frames, would make excellent additions to their collection. Captain Krentosh stood in the observation deck of the lead hunting vessel, watching the human settlement below. The prey was scattered, disorganized, unaware of the danger descending upon them. He activated the bioscanner to categorize the targets. The system whirred to life, scanning the thermal signatures, analyzing biological markers, assessing threat levels. Within moments, it began its standard classification protocol. Then something went wrong. Anomaly detected, the system announced in its synthetic voice. Classification error. Recommend manual review. Captain Krentosh's predatory instincts flared with irritation. Display anomaly, he commanded. The central human, a male with dark skin and a muscular frame, was flagged in red across every threat metric. The scanner's notes cascaded across the screen. Biological markers indicate extreme stress tolerance. Muscle composition suggests high-impact durability. Neural activity pattern suggests decision-making under duress. Metabolic efficiency rating, exceptional. Pain threshold, abnormal. Aggression response time, 0.3 seconds. Adaptive capacity, off-scale. Below that, in bold letters, system note, classification error. This specimen is not prey. Captain Krentosh felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty. Rescan, he ordered. Correct the error. The scanner complied, running through its analysis again. The results were identical. There is no error, the system responded. This specimen has been exposed to constant environmental pressure for extended periods. Biological analysis indicates repeated trauma recovery. Cellular markers show adaptation to multiple threat vectors. Classification, this is not prey. This is a predator. On the surface, the human male named Colonel James Morrison stood motionless, watching the Velthar vessels descend through the atmosphere. He had seen the scanners, had felt the ancient hunter's eyes upon his people. His hand went to the communication device at his hip. All units, he transmitted quietly. We have contact. Execute Protocol Delta. Do not attempt to hide. Do not attempt to flee. Stand your ground. The Velthar didn't understand the transmission, but they understood the response. The humans didn't scatter in fear. They didn't attempt to evacuate. Instead, they formed organized defensive positions. Their movements were precise, efficient, methodical, the movements of creatures that had trained for exactly this scenario. Captain Krentosh watched in fascination and growing dread as the humans began to deploy weapons. Not advanced weaponry, nothing that matched the Velthar's technological superiority. Simple projectile weapons, explosive devices, traps fashioned from local materials. But the way they deployed them, it was poetry. Every position reinforced another. Every ambush site had an escape route and a fallback position. Every defensive structure was designed to funnel enemies into kill zones. Scan the human settlement for total biomass, Captain Krentosh commanded, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Scan complete, the system replied. Population assessment indicates 47% are trained combat personnel. 30% are support personnel trained in emergency protocols. 23% are civilians trained in evacuation and casualty management. Average training duration, 15 years. Average combat experience, 8 years. The captain felt his blood chill. These weren't refugees. These weren't accidental travelers. These were soldiers. Warriors. A combat-hardened species that had built their entire civilization on survival against overwhelming odds. They call themselves Deathworlders, the scanning system continued, its tone almost apologetic. Historical database indicates species originated on a world with extreme environmental conditions. Predators, natural disasters, hostile climate. Analysis suggests this species has never known peace. Only survival. Only warfare. Colonel Morrison stood on a ridge overlooking the valley, watching the Velthar vessels begin their descent into the settlement. Around him, his soldiers were calm, focused, ready. They had trained for this moment their entire lives, not against the Velthar specifically, but against the principle that somewhere, something would want to hunt them. On the Velthar command deck, Captain Krentosh made a decision that would have been unthinkable moments before. Cease descent, he ordered. Plot course for departure. Captain, his second officer questioned. We have overwhelming technological advantage. No, Krentosh said quietly, watching the humans move into position. We have overwhelming technological advantage against prey. That is not prey. That is something else entirely. Something that has learned to turn survival into warfare. Something that has built weapons from hunger and fear. He watched as the first human attack drones launched from hidden positions, simple, crude, but perfectly coordinated. They would lose, eventually. But the cost? Set course for home, Captain Krentosh repeated. And send a message to all Velthar hunting expeditions, do not approach the Deathworlders. They are not prey. They are something we do not have classification for. They are something that should not be hunted. As the Velthar fleet turned away from the planet, Colonel Morrison watched them go and smiled. Sometimes, he thought, all you had to do was show the galaxy what you were made of. The rest would follow.